Hey, what's up guys? We are gonna go over today 10 need to know weight loss tips that are gonna make the process of weight loss way easier for you. Weight loss can be a really confusing thing, especially when it comes to nutrition and just overall behavior. Things can get overwhelming and confusing. And for most people, it's actually easier for them not even to try than it is to try to figure out what works. Tip number one, carbs do not cause fat gain. Now, I'm sure you've been hearing this since the early 90s, thinking that eating starchy carbs, eating bread, eating pasta, eating rice, or even eating fruit is going to make you magically gain fat. Simple truth is that that is false. Fat gain happens when your body is over consuming calories and then stores those excess calories or excess energy as body fat. When you eat food, it needs to be metabolized and then used by your body for different functions. For most people, they're unknowingly overeating calories and they're also not moving a lot or actively trying to build muscle. So when they overconsume their calories, their body's like, hey, we'll just store this as body fat. And this happens slowly over time for most American adults. Your body's ability to lose or gain weight is going to be dependent on your overall calorie intake. Carbs are 4 calories per gram. 200 grams of carbs in a day is only 800 calories. For most people, that's a small amount of the total calories they're going to eat throughout the day. As long as your total calories are in check and your protein goal is met, talk about that later, you can eat as many carbs as you want. Number two, fats do not cause fat gain. Dietary fats are 9 calories per gram, whereas carbs are 4 calories per gram. This is why whenever you see macro recommendations or macronutrient recommendations, the fat number is usually the lowest, is because for every gram of fat, it's more than double the amount of calories per gram than carbs and protein. Protein is very important, we'll talk about that later. We can really moderate our intake of carbs and fats as long as the protein goal is met, and this all helps control total calories. Generally, people overeat calories, and a lot of those calories can tend to come from foods that are a mixture of carbs and fats that also happen to be very sugary or very salty. So they're very highly palatable, they're easy to overeat. But individually, macronutrients, a carb or a fat, do not just magically cause fat gain. They can contribute to it if you are over consuming calories. But again, as long as your total calories are in check, you can eat a good amount of fats and a good amount of carbs every single day and not gain weight, and in fact, lose weight. Number three, eating enough protein will help you lose weight and help you burn fat. I mentioned protein several times already. The reason why protein is super important is it supports building lean muscle. Lean muscle is the most valuable asset you can have for overall fat loss. Having more muscle on your body allows you to burn more calories even when you're doing nothing. If you feel like you've been dieting for years and can't seem to get lean and toned and can't seem to lose weight, probably because you've never committed to building lean muscle, probably not consistently ate enough protein for a long enough period of time. Tip number 4, the best appetite suppressant you can use is big balanced meals. Obviously, if you're trying to lose weight, managing your hunger is going to be a very important piece of the puzzle. If you have a ton of cravings or you feel like you're starving all day long, the tendency to then overeat or eat more highly palatable foods is going to go up. If you can control that appetite and control those cravings in a healthy way, it's going to make dieting or losing weight way more sustainable. Best way to do that is to eat more big balanced meals. A balanced meal means there's a protein, a carb, and a fat, and ideally a produce at each of those meals. In most situations, you're gonna get your fats mainly from your protein and carb sources. So if you have breakfast with whole eggs, eggs are gonna be a mix of fats and proteins. So you don't have to add additional fats to that. Steak or salmon or whole fat dairy, you'll be getting your fat from your protein source. So a big balanced meal generally is gonna look like a source of protein, a source of starchy carb, and a source of produce. Any combination of those foods eaten 3 to 4 times per day is going to be the best way to control appetite. Number 5, having an eating schedule will really help control your hunger. The problem I see with most people is they're going long periods of time without eating, they have no plan for their day, and then they're putting themselves into situations where they're starving and ravenous, and they're reaching for foods they know they probably shouldn't be. If you know around what time per day you're eating each of your meals, it's gonna make your life way easier. It's making your day more predictable. It's very individual to the person, but ideally you'll be having a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner, and then 1 or 2 snacks thrown in there throughout the day. If you know when you're gonna eat, you're less likely to go long periods of time without eating, which then leads to over-consuming highly palatable foods at some point during the day. Number 6, getting better sleep will reduce sugar cravings and make dieting easier. When your sleep is messed up, sugar cravings go through the roof, you are more stressed out, you are less motivated, and the idea of sticking to any sort of dietary restrictions is going to sound very, very nauseating. If you feel like you have chronic sugar cravings, it's likely a side effect of under-eating protein, under-eating nutrient-dense foods, and probably not getting great sleep, or a combination of all three. There's already enough stress in your life. Nutrition, your sleep, and your training should be adding value and de-stressing you, not adding more stress. So if you're eating a bunch of highly palatable processed foods, you're not getting enough protein, and you're not getting enough sleep, you're putting yourself in a very stressed state, and it's just gonna make adhering to your diet way harder, and it's gonna make your sugar cravings go up. Getting better sleep, not just more sleep, but better quality sleep, is a very useful tool for making weight loss way easier and more effective. Number 7, eating breakfast can help with weight loss. I'm sure you've heard a lot about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting basically means you're skipping breakfast for most people. Intermittent fasting is not bad if you enjoy that and it helps you control your calories and it's a sustainable way of living for you, then that's totally fine. I've found from working with hundreds of clients that most people who have nighttime binge behavior, high sugar cravings, and find it very hard to stick to their diet all have this one thing in common. They tend to skip breakfast and they tend not to be hungry in the morning. So by starting your day with a balanced breakfast, first of all, it's putting you in a good mental space because you're starting the day with a win and a good decision right off the bat. Second, by eating that balanced meal of a protein, a produce, and a starchy carb, you are now going to have a more steady blood sugar level going into your next meal and less likely to approach lunch or snack from a very hungry, stressed state. Again, building that eating schedule throughout the day. Eating breakfast also helps you get a head start on hitting your protein goal for the day. Most people who are trying to lose weight have trouble hitting their protein. So if you're skipping that first meal and you're not eating till 11 or noon, you are now trying to hit this high protein number that already feels a little uncomfortable for you, and you're giving yourself less time to do it. So the process becomes more stressful, it becomes harder to adhere to. Starting your day with breakfast can really make the weight loss process a lot easier. Number 8, this one is a training related one, but lift weights first, do cardio second. I don't necessarily mean in that order during your workout. I mean how you prioritize your training. Lifting weights and strength training should be your top priority. If you're someone who doesn't have a ton of time, or you have a very tight schedule, or maybe you just don't enjoy working out yet, you have to prioritize just one thing so that you can get in and out of the gym and not have to spend more than 3 days a week there, do strength training. We talked about how important lean muscle is. When you're doing cardio, you are not telling your body you need to build lean muscle. Now, cardio is useful and it is important, and it's something you probably should add into your routine at some point. But if you're struggling with weight loss right now and you're not actually lifting weights, only focusing on cardio, you need to flip that around. Put most of your focus into your strength training and have cardio be something that you add in addition to your strength training. But again, if you had to focus on one, I would focus on your strength training over your cardio. Number 9, eat out less. When you're eating out at a restaurant or ordering takeout, you're putting your weight loss in someone else's hands. We talked about how important total calorie control is. When you're eating at a restaurant or you're ordering takeout, their job is to make sure your food tastes pretty damn good. In order to do that, they probably have to add oils, sugar, high calorie sauces. Now, this isn't some conspiracy theory to make you gain weight. It's how the restaurant business works. Their food has to taste good, and the person cooking your meal has no concern over how many calories are in it. If you're eating out 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times a week, even if you're tracking those meals, it's very unlikely that you're tracking them accurately, and you're probably overeating calories. A very easy way to start reducing your calories if you're trying to lose weight is to just eat out less and start to enjoy the process of cooking. And it'll save you money too. Number 10, I've kind of referenced this multiple times throughout this video, but calories are king. Food quality matters, protein matters, structuring your eating schedule matters, having a plan for the day, eating breakfast, all this stuff matters. But it all matters because there are ways to help you control your total calorie intake. Your calories in versus calories burned is going to be the main thing that determines whether or not you lose weight. There's no accurate way to track how many calories you burn. The only accurate thing you can track is how many calories you're eating. If you can get an accurate idea of how many calories you're eating on a day-to-day basis and then build some consistency and control around those calories, a lot of this other stuff will fall into place. I hope this was helpful. All of these things are meant to de-stress you and make the process of weight loss easier. If anything's confusing, feel free to drop a comment. Most importantly, start applying at least one of these tips today.